We back in another video. Hey, today you're gonna react to 10 times shit got real in WWE. This might be a crazy video, but hopefully y'all can come subscribe. Around on 700 mil. Being said, let's get it. Damn! Out the gate? Hey!
10 times shit got real in WWE.
Alright, let's hear it, let's hear it.
Subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos.
Let's hear it.
On Facebook. Number 1, the Jackass Boys get taught a lesson. This is one of the
taught a lesson? Damn! Gripping the hell out that neck.
Can go wrong in WWE. And you guys remember Jackass? This was that lovable MTV
what the hell?
show where a bunch of
Jackasses do extreme. Oh wait, you know what?
Well, the Jackass crew came out.
I was definitely young, but like growing up, I've heard about this show. That's a big dude.
Steve-O didn't particularly take Umaga seriously from the beginning, which was the start
Damn!
of the downfall. Umaga came in, whooped some ass, and was supposed to leave, but the former WWE star noticed that Steve-O wasn't selling the beatdown. This is when Umaga went straight into shoot mode. Steve-O himself described this as the worst beatdown he's ever received. As Umaga killed him with a
hey!
Flash,
what
Steve-O
the hell?
the memo that he had to sell the beatdown. So Umaga continued the beating to the point where even WWE officials had to cut the camera away. Umaga's former manager Armando Alejandro Estrada detailed the exact events that led to Umaga destroying on a Gorilla JR episode. When we did the TV in Los Angeles, Steve-O and Chris Pontius were there from Jackass in the fall of 06. Steve-O got his ass beat shoot style on Raw because he wasn't supposed to laugh to the extent he did. So when he didn't adhere for the repeated request for him to lay down and sell, Umaga beat that MFer's ass, including legitimately stomping on his head and knocking him out. And when we got to the back, we went to thank those guys for working with us, and Steve-O said, "When are we up, guys?" He was so effed up, he already forgot that we had done the deal. But one thing's for sure, the Jackass crew
they beat him so bad that he had memory loss or something.
Number 2, CJ Parker and Kevin Owens. Before Juice Robinson was, well, Juice Robinson, the AEW star was some hippie dude named CJ Parker in the early days of NXT. The character was rather unpopular and turned right into a jobber. Now, CJ Parker was Owens' first official WWE opponent at NXT TakeOver Revolution, and Parker left a lasting impression on the newcomer. This was supposed to be a dominant showcase for Owens, but Parker hit a palm strike that broke the former Universal Champion.
Oh my god!
According to Kevin Owens, that was the moment CJ Parker became one of his most favorite people in the world. CJ Parker hit me with a palm strike, and that managed to break my nose. The fact that he hit me so hard, he ended up cutting his own hand on the phone.
Holy shit!
I was bleeding from the hand, and I was bleeding from the nose. He covered me, and I kicked out. He had concern in his voice, and my exact words were, "You exploded my nose."
Oh my god!
We finished the match, we came back, and I was happy he broke my nose because it was a perfect way to start things off. He
That's
really got
crazy.
close after that, and he's to this day one of my favorite people in the world.
As a W though, I ain't gonna lie.
Hey! Destroy Parker did make his WWE debut special, and it's cemented as one of the most memorable moments in NXT
wow,
history.
That's wild.
Shawn Michaels' wife gets clocked out for real.
What the hell?
Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho had the best feud of 2008. These two had an intense rivalry that got better every time they were in the ring. One of the more memorable moments was Jericho punching Shawn's wife right in the mouth. Now, on the surface, it seemed like a perfectly scripted moment captured on camera, but in reality, the former WWE star was never supposed to hit Rebecca. Jericho revealed the shocking truth in his book, The Best in the World at What I Have No Idea, saying earlier in the night we'd gone over the whole scenario.
That's crazy.
I timed my punch to stop right before I made any contact with her. I've thrown thousands of working punches, as we call them, but this one was a little more important because it wasn't another trained worker I was swinging at. It was Shawn's wife we were talking about. In order to time it right, I told her not to move so I could judge the distance and throw the punch accordingly. Even though Rebecca had been in WCW for a short while working as Nitro Girl Whisper, she'd never wrestled or taken a bump as far as I knew. But that didn't matter because if I executed the punch perfectly, it was gonna look vicious. But I didn't execute it properly. The look on my face wasn't an act. I felt like the biggest piece of shit on the planet. I knew I was in trouble. I kept repeating over and over again, "I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry." The doctors tended to Rebecca as Shawn stared at me blankly like he wanted to kill me. Now, thankfully, Michael's thirst for Jericho's blood ended when Rebecca played off the serious moment by asking Jericho if that's all he had. It's possible that Rebecca knew that her husband had murder on his mind and wanted to ease the tension backstage. Although Jericho punching Rebecca was a complete accident, the moment perfectly helped this slimy heel character and added an unforgettable moment to a nearly perfect feud.
Bro, a lot of this type of shit probably happens a lot, bro. I can't lie. Like,
Savage had a high-profile feud that put the WWE audience on a complete roller coaster ride. However, the most infamous moment was the snake
The hell?
to the Macho Man.
What the
How do
hell?
you fake a snake bite? Well, you can't.
You can't
have
fake
to
a
have
snake
real
bite?
one. And this was a carefully planned
And
segment
you
that
can't
went
pay
off
me
the
enough
rails
money to
because
do
of
this
the Macho
shit.
Man himself. How?
This nigga
Well, it
actually
was
got
because Jake was actually
bit
pissed
by
at
a
the
snake?
WWE Hall of Famer. You see, the Macho Man wasn't happy about the stunt from the beginning. That's a natural reaction from any sane human being. The former WWE star confronted Jake backstage and questioned whether the snake had been devenomized. Jake assured Randy that
Ain't
it
no
was,
way
but
he
the
got
Macho Man
bit
did
by a
both.
venomous
So Randy
snake.
did what all wrestlers would do when they're about to be bitten by a snake, demand that Jake take a bite too. And begrudgingly, Jake took a bite from his own snake. Not just a quick bite, Jake had to wait 10 minutes so the poison could course through his veins.
What?
Randy ultimately deemed the stunt safe, but Jake was not a happy man about what he just did. And before the segment was going to take place, Jake was still pissed about what the Macho Man made him do earlier and purposefully smacked
Well,
the
I
angry
think
snake.
there's a difference though.
When
Like
that snake
venomous,
latched on, it wouldn't let
I
go.
think.
The Macho Man's screams during this segment were legitimate.
Oh my
and
God,
Jake was
that's
trying
crazy.
his very best to get the snake to latch off. Finally,
But
after a grueling number of minutes, it finally let go.
I
This
think
was a wild
that
scene that forever
venomous,
lives in the minds of those who witnessed it.
you can
Though
like
we're pretty
stop
sure that
it,
the Macho Man
or
tried to erase it from his
you
memory
can
once the moment
like
was over.
combat it or something.
Number
Poisonous,
five,
there's
Braun
nothing you
and
can do
Brock
about it.
at the
I think.
Rumble. A beast versus a monster.
I think I'm
versus
smart
the
enough to know
monster
that.
men. What could go wrong? That was the build match between Kane, Braun Strowman, and Brock Lesnar. Strowman was at the height of his career and Vince McMahon was pushing him to be at the top. But the former WWE star realized that night that even a monster can be tamed.
That's a
Now, you
big
see,
dude,
Strowman
bro.
got a little overwhelmed
Damn!
in his battle with Lesnar during the match, and the Beast Incarnate gave him a reality check with his fist. Strowman detailed the exact moment during
He
his
actually
interview
punched him,
with Chris
too.
Van Fleet. I got a little overzealous with him, and he had to check me. And that's just, at the end of the day, it's two big dominant dudes out there going at it, and things happen. This ain't ballet. I stiffed him on accident with a knee and he wasn't happy with it, so he clobbered me on the side of the head. And I like to think that I'm the only human on earth that's ever taken a right hand for Brock that didn't go night-night. I went 20 more minutes in the match, it didn't feel good. I mean, you see the slow
Damn.
motion, my
He
skull
actually
moves
clocked
and the
him.
skin catches up. And Brock Lesnar is a former UFC heavyweight champion who probably still believes that eating nails for breakfast is a must for any man. So it's no surprise that the former
God.
WWE champion's receipt will have you seeing stars for the rest of the day. And once the
That's
two got backstage,
crazy.
the beef was squashed. Number 6, Kofi clocks.
That's crazy that he can squash the beef like that easily. I feel like these guys are like nice though, like nice people. Like they're all chill, it's just shit happens.
Amazing Kingston had a normal match on Monday Night Raw back in 2012 until Kofi gave him a surprise
Damn!
that looked brutal.
What the hell?
Kofi misjudged the timing and space, but luckily for the Miz, he didn't get a concussion, but he had a
Holy
nasty laceration
shit.
that required a couple of stitches. The
What the hell?
The guy is one tough SOB. He got a concussion during his match against John Cena at
Damn.
WrestleMania 27 and still kept going.
Yeah, I heard the
Even
Miz
after
is
the
like,
two after AJ Styles
that's
back
crazy.
to Kingdom
Oh
Come.
my God.
Between these three incidents,
Damn, bro, that's crazy to me, bro. What the
Number 7,
hell?
Earthquake and Koji Katoa go at it. But John Earthquake Tenta versus
Yeah,
Koji
but I heard the
Katoa
Miz is
one
like
of the
he got
strangest
like
matches in wrestling history.
he's not the most likable, but I think people still like him. You know what I mean?
This match was the Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar of the 90s. And we're not talking about the matches that they had
Damn.
in Survivor Series and WrestleMania 33. Now for some backstory, WWE held a joint pay-per-view with Super World of Sports called Wrestle Dream on April 1st, 1991. The card was a Worlds Collide event that saw Bret Hart
Hey!
battle George Takano and Hulk Hogan defended the WWE Championship against Yoshiaki Yatsu. Now honestly, the show was quite forgettable except for the Earthquake versus Koji showdown. Now both were decorated sumo stars.
Yeah, I was about to say they look like sumo
Koji
wrestlers.
clearly had a chip on his shoulder with John Tenta. Even before the match had started, John Tenta was worried backstage that this would turn into a legitimate shoot fight. And John Tenta was right. Koji no-sold a test their strength sequence when he got back in the ring, and Earthquake got frustrated with him as the match went along. Both men just couldn't get into sync, and that was all because of Koji. The match consisted of them smacking each other's hand and pacing around the ring. Earthquake even shouted that this was pro wrestling at one point in the match. The bout ended when Koji opted to kick the referee,
That's
causing the
crazy.
disqualification. Koji stormed out of the ring, grabbed a mic, and shouted, "Wrestling is fake," before heading to the back. Now, Koji had a reputation for his unprofessional behavior, and just before his match with Earthquake, Koji was fired from New Japan Pro Wrestling and expelled
Damn.
from the sumo due to his poor
Wow.
behavior. Now, as you can imagine, everyone backstage was heated over Koji's stunt. Reportedly, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, and Randy Savage were waiting in the locker room to kick his ass. But they never got a
Holy
chance
shit.
because Koji was flipping out on his wife Hachira Tanaka, who was a Super World of Sports manager. He was eventually fired for the Wrestle Dream incident, but Koji actually did return to WWE at WrestleMania 7, beating Demolition with Genichiro. He ultimately left professional wrestling to pursue a career in MMA. an actual shoot
That's
fight.
wild.
Number 8, Ken Shamrock and Vader go stiff. Legitimately, Ken Shamrock is one of the toughest men on the planet. The UFC Hall of Famer beat some of the toughest fighters during the early days of UFC, so naturally, Shamrock is a fighter. That's what he knew growing up, and that's the same style he brought into the WWE. But Shamrock learned in his match against Vader that he isn't the only man on the planet that can hit hard. During his match against Vader in Your House a Cold Day in Hell, the former Intercontinental Champion accidentally broke the WWE Hall of Famer's nose. In return, Vader gave Shamrock his receipt with a hard shot of his own.
Damn!
Everyone knows of the infamous chair shot that The Rock gave Shamrock.
Holy shit.
During his interview with Chris Van Vliet, Shamrock explained that it reminded him of that very moment looking back. I'm a fighter and I just tried to go in and do what I thought was normal. So normally I'm used to just sparring, right? You spar but you don't hurt guys, and that's kind of what I did with Vader. I guess I ended up breaking his nose, didn't know it. And the funny thing is that Shamrock thought that Vader's hard shot was pretty freaking awesome. I found out later on that he gave me a receipt when he hit me hard.
Damn, bro!
It's like the chair shot where people look at it and go, oh, Vader really nailed it. He must have pissed Vader off. I'm thinking to myself, what? What are you talking about? And then I watched him and I was like, that's awesome. There was never any bad blood over the incident. Vader understood that Shamrock was a rookie, still trying to find his way, and he complimented the former WWE star for his performance. Vader came up to me and says, bro, good job, man. Good job. He said, I think you broke my nose. I was like, huh? He goes, when you threw the knee. I was like, oh, sorry. He goes, bro, don't worry about it, man. It was a good match.
That's crazy. They don't care if they get like broken noses, like nothing, bro. They just want people to enjoy the show. That's fire, bro. I can't lie.
Against Daniel Puder. Don't you guys remember Daniel Puder? Well, the Season 4 Tough Enough winner didn't exactly have a smooth time in WWE. The MMA-turned-wrestling star was infamous for his shoot fight with Kurt Angle on the 4th November 2004 episode of SmackDown. But that wasn't the reason Puder got his ass handed to him at the 2005 Rumble. Apparently, Puder was an arrogant prick behind the scenes, but there's a good reason why Puder isn't remembered for his skills inside of the ring. He wasn't a good wrestler, but the former WWE star let it go to his head that he was one of the top names in the company. So, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and Hardcore Holly wanted to teach the rookie a valuable lesson. Puder was booked to be number 3 in the Rumble, but it wasn't because WWE wanted to spotlight their new star. It was because the veterans wanted to take Puder to Chop City. They certainly did. They murdered the poor kid with chops before eliminating Puder from the Rumble. That was the last time he competed on the main roster. The former WWE star was sent to OVW because he was no Ken Shamrock. Puder was eventually released, and though he did wrestle for Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling a bit, his career was never able to recover following that Royal Rumble match. Years after the hazing incident, Puder discussed that moment, and let's just say he didn't mince his words when he talked about Benoit, Guerrero, and Hardcore Holly. Speaking with Hannibal TV, they treated me like crap and very disrespectful. So I could have taken all 3 of them if I wanted to go smash them all. I'm Hardcore Holly. He's tough. Yeah, but he's helped coach me back in the day. I asked him for help, support, and then he went and talked smack in his book to get better ratings and sell more books. So he's a profiteer. He doesn't care about people at this point from my perspective, and he's insignificant and rude. I don't think about him. Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, I thought they were nice guys. I liked Eddie, but, you know, after that happened, I thought both of them, you know, it is what it is. Like, again, you know, look at who treats people good in this world, and look at people who treat like crap, and see what happens in their lives, and they create their own outcomes. Now, it sounds surprising that Puder is bitter about the experience, but WWE was a different time
I would be
during this
too.
era, where hazing of this nature was pretty common to the rookies. In this case, it seemed like Benoit, Eddie, and Holly wanted to teach Puder a lesson that remains one of the most talked about moments in Royal Rumble history. And number 10, Yokozuna's a legit bonsai.
Oh my god, I know I didn't see what I just thought I saw.
Is one of the safest workers
What the
in shit.
hell?
In fact, there were plenty of guys
Boom!
However, one of those guys
I know he
would
couldn't
be
breathe
Daniel
under that.
Tabeel. Who is this guy? Well, he's the jobber who got crushed by one of Yokozuna's bonsai drops. If you look at the footage, it seems that Yokozuna legitimately killed this man. There have been rumors for years that Yokozuna had 2 different bonsai drops. One for superstars like Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, and Jim Duggan, meaning that the move was light as a feather when they took it, taking most of the impact on his legs before sitting down. But the other was for enhancement talent where it legitimately...
Oh my god!
But for Tabeel taking the bonsai drop, he seemed especially brutal, and reportedly, that's because Yokozuna was pissed off with him. According to Bret Hart in his book, Tabeel disrespected Mr. Fuji backstage, and Yoko taught him a lesson in the ring. Former WCW star Crowbar recently spoke about
bro.
Revealed that
Like I
was
said,
badly injured from the move.
Holy
I know this guy, Daniel Tabeel. He was injured badly. He never spoke up because he wanted to be asked back. This goes beyond a stiff shot receipt. Could have killed a guy.
Definitely could have, bro. What? That's like a boulder.
Being stiff with a job was now to the norm during this time. But there you have it, folks. 10 times shit got
That's
real in WWE.
crazy. Oh
Be sure to
my
comment
God.
below. I'll see you next time with
That's
some more
wild.
wrestling content.
Hey, that was a good video, bro. Damn, that's crazy. But hope y'all click, subscribe. We're on some Jamil. Like I said before, we're gonna get ready for the Thunder versus Pacers game tonight. We're gonna watch. We're gonna tap in. But I'll check y'all out later. Yeah.